Thank you for stopping by. I just have to say something. This is probably the worst police video that I've created in a sense that it's emotionally touching for me because I have two daughters. And as a parent, you always have to be concerned about with their bad guys and what they may end up doing with your daughter. But when a guy's a police officer with a badge and a gun, this behavior is totally unacceptable. And the steps that they've done with this police officer to punish him, it is the reason why I call for positive police reform, which means is that you hold police officers to a higher standard than that of the general public. If it had been you or I as a concealed weapon holder doing what he had done, we'd be underneath the jail right now. Please like and subscribe and click that notification bell. Let's dive into this video.
An LMPD officer tied up, kissed, and groped a worker at a Louisville gas station while he was on duty. Now the city is paying for it. Tonight, the video, the settlement, and the victim talking only to WDRB investigator Gilbert Corsi.
I love the gas. I love the feeling you get to know the community around you.
Amory Taylors has worked for Thornton's 8 years, but it's 2 days on the job.
I try to black that out a little bit.
From 2 years ago,
The things he did doesn't make sense to me.
that still haunt her.
He definitely abused his badge.
March 11, 2020. That's Officer Robert Neff, seen in security footage, briefly tying Taylor's hands behind her back with plastic wrap at the Thornton's gas station off Bardstown Road near Fern Creek. Taylor says he came in often as officers received free coffee and drinks, and this was just the beginning of the harassment.
He wanted to give me a hug, so he side hugged and then he kissed me on my cheek, which at that point I told people, I'm uncomfortable around him, like this is not something I'm wanting to pursue.
Did you have any kind of relationship with Robert Neff?
No. He tried to give me his number several times, but honestly I trashed him.
The next day, Neff returned, and police reports say he stayed more than 2 hours while on duty.
So this officer goes into somebody else's place of business where she's there to do a job, has the balls to tie her up, make passes at her. And then while you're doing all this, what was happening to all the calls that were going on in your area for over 2 hours? I'd like to know what was going on. Was your partners having to drive further with their calls that were ignored or possibly even a delayed response because you're out flirting and trying to grab ass? It's just sickening. This guy's just absolutely sickening.
He just kind of kept following me around.
It's here in the back storage area in 2 separate incidents that Neff gropes Taylor. He claimed to be faking a search.
Was grabbing down between my shirt, was trying to rub up against my leg area, and the whole time, the woman that I was training was in front of me watching it, and she's like, you shouldn't do that. You shouldn't do that. And I'm just sitting there because he made me put my hands behind my back and restrained me to where I couldn't move.
So you took a woman into a back room of her job, put her hands behind her back and restrained her, and you started feeling her up. You had a gun. And in many states, I'm not an attorney, but man, I'm willing to bet you that would be considered an aggravated sexual assault. And that's one of the reasons why I'm so incensed about this video, because if it was a civilian that did this, he'd be in jail right now.
What is going through your mind in those moments?
Why me? Why did he see me as the vulnerable person to come into my safe place of work and try to take advantage of me in any way he could? I just really didn't understand the whole situation because it wasn't something I had tried to partake in before. I didn't take your number. I didn't try to do anything but be cordial with people and nice.
Taylor says she felt angry, scared, and helpless.
Is this going to affect my job and how I provide for me and my family?
Neff was charged criminally. He cut a plea deal confessing to sexual misconduct and official misconduct, misdemeanors that came with probation, but no time behind bars. He then quit LMPD.
So this officer did all that stuff and ended up with a misdemeanor of sexual misconduct while he was in uniform with the badge and a gun at his hip. Tell me any other situation where this would not be felony. And to me, the biggest slap on the face is that this guy ended up keeping his officer's certification. They didn't, as far as I know, which was not reported in this particular news article, this POS may still be working as an officer at another department. And that's why police modernization needs to be made in America as soon as possible. These people should be held to a higher standard, and not alone to a higher standard, but better transparency where you can't hide and run to another department and start all over again. I am willing to bet that this is not the first woman that's had problems with this officer. And men who are generally this aggressive with women usually tend not to change.
I don't think that he should have had a right to resign. I think he should have been fired.
Metro government just paid Taylor $55,000, a small piece of LMPD's big settlement pie. The city spent more than $40 million to settle police misconduct cases in the last 5 years. Recently, it agreed to pay $2 million to Breonna Taylor's boyfriend.
I lost everything in this situation, not just only the person I loved more than anybody in this world.
And another $1.8 million to 3 women who accused former Detective Brian Bailey of sexual abuse.
If the cops were just doing what they should do, that money could be used towards so much different things in our city and for our children and different things. Like, that's a lot of money to send out for people doing inappropriate things.
Louisville lost its excess insurance provider, the kind that covered the most high-dollar payouts.
Because of the large numbers of payouts that we have, outside insurance carriers look at the city of Louisville and say, no, I don't think so.
It means these settlements for policing problems now fall more on taxpayers. Taylor believes more stringent mental health testing could be a solution.
Because if they're mentally unstable, they're going to act out and do mentally unstable things to people who don't deserve it at all.
So here we have another police officer getting caught with sexual misconduct, all kinds of things going on in that town to the point where they're actually losing their insurance carriers. And the funny part about it is this all is, in my opinion, a systemic problem of poor leadership and accountability. It is pathetic that you have a store clerk and a first-generation Hispanic person sitting in his office on a microphone on YouTube saying, y'all need to modernize your shit. Get your shit together. It is unacceptable that people with obvious issues are out there being police officers. Let's do some modernization, what I call modernization, psychiatric and mental testing before you hire new officers. And then repeat that action every 2 to 3 years, depending on the size of the department. That's why I don't believe in defunding the police, because you have to have the funding to do these tests.
Do you feel like you got justice?
I feel like I got the justice that I was able to handle mentally. I didn't feel like mentally I could take this to trial and try to fight it anymore.
Gilbert Horsey reporting there. Neither Neff's attorney nor LMPD responded to our requests for comment.
I must apologize for this. It's coming off as a rant video. But like I said earlier, I got 2 daughters, and this is unacceptable. Someone who's generally conservative, generally supports the police, and you've got people like me that are saying, enough's enough. And this wild, wild west shit that you guys have been pulling off for decades, it's got to change. It's costing the taxpayers a fortune. You're harming civilians out there that don't need to be thrown in jail, that they don't need to be harmed or killed because your ego got bruised, or you're so concerned about your safety that, honestly, if you're so concerned about your safety that everybody is an enemy combatant, if you feel that everyone out there is either us or they're the outsiders, I'm a veteran. And I'm telling you, you're not in Iraq, you're not in Afghanistan, you're not in the sandbox, you're in the world. If you're an officer that's got combat experience and you truly believe that it's either us and the rest of them are enemy combatants, we are combatants to you, you're in the wrong field. We are Americans and we have civil rights that are defined by the Constitution of the United States. And you've been given the privilege to support and enforce the laws of our communities and our nation. It does not give you unbridled authority to do what the hell you want to do when you want to do it. Thank you for stopping by. Please like and subscribe. I just have something to say, a conservative Hispanic perspective